Public relations, a strategic communication process that builds mutually beneficial relationships between clubs, their members, and the public. The PR for Success is designed to help you do that with impact and towards excellence. One masterclass a month, each focused on a different aspect of public relations and geared towards immediate implementation of skills, with a WhatsApp group that provides a supportive space. Some of the things that you will learn are the power of the Toastmasters brand and effective use of the PR toolkit. What about designing ads that wow, and creating and implementing a social media plan with effective use of the media? The PR for Success program, designed for VPPRs but open to all members and designed to help you take your PR skills to the next level. Are you ready?
Greetings, fellow Toastmasters from Southern Africa and across the world. It's always so lovely to host you here on this PR for Success. For Success is a public relations development program that is aimed at vice presidents of public relations and anyone who wants to learn about public relations within the Toastmasters context. The program kicked off July, where we discussed the Toastmasters brand and the importance of upholding it in all our communication. We then proceeded to talk about planning for success in April, the importance of having a public relations plan and tracking its performance. In September, we spoke about using personal stories to sell the benefits of Toastmasters. October was all about using the press or the media to create awareness about your club in the community. We rounded off 2020 with discussion on social media and how to use it for maximum impact. Toastmasters, the second half of the year, which started off in January, is all about the business portion of the Toastmasters year, as many clubs, including yours, will aim to be distinguished status or more. But the reality is that membership remains a critical challenge here at District 74. And so as PR for Success, we've decided to focus on membership as we have for the past 2 months. Today, we're going to elevate that conversation and speak about how to promote and market your club. Whether you're trying to start a new club, coach a club that is finding membership a challenge, or your club is experiencing that, I am absolutely certain that you will benefit greatly from today's masterclass. We have an international act. I'm very excited. So let's get started, Toastmasters. To introduce our facilitator, please join me in welcoming onto the virtual stage our District Director, Distinguished Toastmaster, Meryl Jabba. Over to you, Meryl.
Thank you so much, Maud. Some years ago, I was very excited to go to a conference where Lance Miller was speaking. Now, conferences are exciting anyway, but to actually have Lance Miller there in person, and I took out of my back pocket a fair amount of money to attend this conference, where Lance Miller was, for me, one of the draw cards of the event. And it was great. I'm sure he doesn't remember, but I did actually get to meet and speak to him in person. And now, from the comfort of our own homes, with, as Lance said, without the flight, without the cost of visas, without any of those travel expenses, we now are able to, as District 74, host Lance Miller and learn from his wisdoms and his insights of what he has done over the years. Now, I read Lance's bio, even though I knew quite a bit about him beforehand, and I decided that one day when I'm big, I want to have a half as exciting and impressive bio as Lance Miller does. Now, Lance has done many, many things, both on a business level and on a Toastmasters level. But from a Toastmasters level, In 2005, Lance was actually awarded the championship of public speaking. And I still remember hearing his speech, and it was a great speech. So if you haven't heard it, go and find it on YouTube and listen to it. But he beat over 40,000 contestants from 110 different countries to earn that title. And he's gone on to be an award-winning speaker and trainer, delivering over 5,000 speeches in 60 different countries on public speaking, leadership, overcoming failure and adversity. And his real life experience brings fun, lively and entertaining presentations to the podium. Now, he obviously is a little bit of an adrenaline junkie because in addition to his extensive background, business background, he has sat on top of 14,000 feet peaks, rafted the roughest whitewater in the United States, sailed transatlantic from the Virgin Islands to Norway, and piloted his own aircraft hundreds of hours from northern Michigan to the top of Key West. He's also scuba dived under the ice of frozen lakes, which I think might mean he's a little crazy, but he's also twice hitchhiked through Europe. And tonight, we have the honor and the privilege of having Lance Miller on our District 74 stage with PR for Success. Welcome, and the virtual stage is yours, Lance.
Well, thank you, Meryl. And yes, I probably am a little crazy, but that's fine. I'm glad to be here with everyone at District 74. And I had a great trip down there several years ago and got to see most of South Africa, but got to meet so many wonderful people. And today what I want to do, we have a little bit of time to go over really how to grow your club. And a part of my Toastmasters experience that a lot of people aren't aware of because they know me as a world champion speaker. But 5 years or 6 years before I won the world championship in 2005, I was part of a group in my club that took it from a struggling club of 12 active members. We had more on the roster, but they weren't coming to the meeting. And we were trying to decide if we're going to keep the club, we're going to close the club, what we're going to do. And we built the club up to 95 members. And this was back when Toastmasters used to rank all the clubs internationally. And we were the number 4 club in the world. And that experience of building the club was it is equal to me winning the world championship. Learning how to run a Toastmasters club and really make it work, but also the number of lives we changed because the number of people that were coming to Toastmasters and the people we were helping find their voice and get out of their own way and discover that they did have value in life and they could say things and the careers we changed. It was just an incredible experience to have a club that was that big and that dynamic, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. To me, a good Toastmasters club is 40 to 50 members, and I argue this all over the world. Toastmasters clubs are not 20 to 25 members. That's barely enough to fill all the meeting roles and have a meeting. If you get 40 to 50 members, you actually have a lot of dynamics that are happening in the club. So I'm going to share with you today some of the things that I learned about building a Toastmasters club. And quite honestly, I credit that club for allowing me to be the world champion. It's very hard to become a good speaker when you have 8 people in a Toastmasters club. You know, that I call that dinner. I don't call that speaking in front of an audience. I call that, it's like a little after dinner talk. If you want to become a great speaker, you need to have a really dynamic environment that you're speaking into. And so strong clubs teach us the leadership skills. They teach us the management skills. They teach us the meeting management skills. We have so much more diversity and so much more growth when we have a lot more people in our Toastmasters club. Okay, so a couple things about me. I want to tell you right up front. I believe that in order to solve problems, we have to have a correct diagnosis. And I don't pull my punches. I will tell it and call it as I see it. And there's a lot of things within the Toastmasters structure and programs that I think can need to be improved. And I talk very openly about those. And I very well possibly may have been blackballed from speaking at the convention anymore. I've spent 3 or 4 presentations at the Toastmasters International Convention. The other thing is, I don't pull my punches and I'm not politically correct. Okay, so I think if we're going to get down to the bottom of it and make something work, let's talk about what's going to work with it. A couple viewpoints I want to give you right up front. What I've seen, first of all, I'll tell you there's 3 reasons I've seen clubs fail. The first reason, and I just want to touch on these. This is not what this talk is about, but bring me back and I'll do a talk on this one. The first one is nobody owns the club. And what I mean by that, we join the club and we always want to be a member, but nobody really feels like they own the club, and it's their responsibility to see that the club is successful. And they own the success of the club, but they also solve the problems and they make sure the club is successful. And what changed in my club is there was a small group of us that decided to own the success of the club, and we started solving the problems, and we said, we're going to be successful. And we drove the club. And up to that point, it was always, as I call it, was always somebody else's problem. It was somebody else's problem to solve. We don't have enough members. It's somebody else's problem. We should get more members. I know, but I'm busy. So that's the first reason. The second reason is that they don't do the program. And what I mean by that, the Toastmasters has a specific education program. It used to be the old legacy program, which I loved. We now have Pathways. Pathways is a whole new game. I'm not going to get into Pathways on this, but it's a whole new game. I'm working on my 3rd level 5 right now, so I am familiar with it. I am doing this program. But the point is, you succeed in Toastmasters and you change your life by doing the training. You don't succeed in Toastmasters by sitting in a meeting. When I was a kid growing up, I'd go to church, and I remember the preacher said one time that sitting in a church won't make you into a Christian any more than sitting in a hen house will make you into a chicken. Okay, well, the same thing's true with Toastmasters. Sitting in a Toastmasters meeting will not make you a better speaker, a better leader, a better evaluator, a better person, any more than sitting in a hen house is going to make you into a chicken. You got to do the program. And the third reason that clubs fail is they don't promote. And I didn't say they promote it ineffectively. I said they don't promote the club. Almost anything will bring members in if you do it. Okay, so that's the first thing we start with. Second thing is, I look at Toastmasters as an internship. It's a great place to fail. You come and make your mistakes in Toastmasters. And as an organization, what we do is we take people who are incompetent and put them on a position, in this case, Vice President of Public Relations, and they get to learn how to build their own competency, but you don't get that position because you're an expert at public relations. And what I'm going to say is actually promotion and marketing, which I'll get into in just a second. But this is this is an internship where you figure out how to succeed in life. And to me, all of Toastmasters is an internship to figure out how to succeed in life. You're put in situations and you have to figure out how to succeed in that role. And we get so used to in life that we're in a system and there's a boss or there's a mother and father or a teacher in school and they're telling us what to do. And if we show up, we're going to succeed and do this. Here's the point. You, as members of your club, are the club. If you come and sit in the club's going to die. You have to make the club work. And the biggest thing I've seen is a lack of incentive to have a successful club. And personally, I feel we should have a world championship of leadership as well as a world championship of public speaking. If we're going to be a leadership organization, we should reward the top clubs in the world. And I'd like to see the top 10 clubs of every district, the top 10 clubs of every region, and the top 10 clubs in the world get major. I've written a whole program up for TI on this, and they have it. So anyway, but we need to reward that. That's what built my club. We wanted to be a top 10 club in the world. It took us 5 years to drive that club up to the number 4 club in the world, but the whole club was pushing to make that club a top 10 club in the world. And our viewpoint, our attitude was, if we're going to do this, let's win with Toastmasters, or let's go do something else and win with Toastmasters. But I don't want to sit here and run a hospice Toastmasters club. It's where we keep the club members comfortable until the club dies. Okay. The last thing I just want to tell you on the story side of this, I grew up in the central part of the United States in Indiana, and probably one of the biggest things that happens in Indiana is the Indianapolis 500, which you may know about, the 500-mile race. And my father took me out to the race a lot as a child. And I remember a story about a driver. I was listening on the radio, and he said he was a famous driver, but he said the first time he drove an Indy car, he had a friend who knew the owner, and he said, I'll get you in the car. And it was at Indianapolis, and he gets him in the car, and his buddy says, listen, whatever happens, just say it's not getting enough gas. So he gets out on the track, and he's scared to death. This car is so powerful. He drives around, not that fast, and the owner flags him in. And he says, what's going on? He goes, it's not getting enough gas. Because they open it up, they adjust the hood and stuff. They send him back out. He goes a little faster. The owner pulls him in. He goes, what's going on? He says, it's not getting enough gas. They adjust the car again. They send him out, brings him in. He goes, get out of that car, puts his driver in. The guy goes out and laps at the speed he's supposed to. And he said, the owner looked at me and he says, yeah, it's not getting enough gas. You're not giving it enough gas. And that is what I've seen with Toastmasters clubs, is that the reason they're failing is we as members are not giving it enough gas. They will succeed, but we have to give it the gas. So what I want to share with you now are some of the things that we've come up with how to promote clubs. Now, I'll just tell you, we have virtual meetings now. My club has been meeting virtually for over a year. We have more members coming in virtually. It's easier for guests to come to a virtual meeting than it is driving in their car, parking, and coming down into a traditional meeting. We have now guests we're in Los Angeles. We have members from New York, from Chicago, from the Tampa, and from Florida, from Texas, from Denver, Colorado. We have a member from Bahrain. We have guests coming from India. We have guests coming from Europe. We have guests coming from Africa, from Asia. It's amazing what's happening with my club being virtual. So the idea you can't grow a club because it's virtual, I don't see that. I think it's easier to grow a club being virtual, but you have to promote it. Now, the next thing about that is also, well, let me slide over here into I was going to pull this up in screen 2. This is a little PowerPoint I have. I'm promoting a club. The first action is you have to have a dynamic club experience. And the simplicity is you have to have something people would want to join. And my club is a dynamic club experience. When you come in, you feel like you're stepping up into a well-organized, well-structured, good leadership, good speaking, good speech evaluation. We get more guests based on our speech evaluation than we do based on the meeting, because they see that the feedback we get, and they see that they can gain from that. But the simplicity is, if you went to a new restaurant and the food was bad, the dishes were dirty, and the service was poor, are you going to go back to that restaurant? No, it was a bad experience. So you have to have something that is worth joining. And I'm going to walk through this very quickly. This is being recorded, so hopefully you can see this again. But you need a good venue. Now, virtually, you need to have a good setup, okay? Welcome guests. This works with virtually as well. Fun, friendly environment. Toastmasters is a fun, friendly environment. It is not a serious place. That's almost what killed my club. We had 2 presidents that were real serious. It needs to be a fun, friendly environment. Okay, the meetings start on time, run on time, and end on time. There's a good structure to it. And I can tell you, strong clubs, the meetings start on time, run on time, and end on time. Weak clubs, they don't. Okay, the speeches are completed per the Toastmasters program. Now the Pathways, program, not the manual. And you have excellent speech evaluation completed per the Pathways program. You don't give speech evaluation that's not off the evaluation forms. You do the Toastmasters program. The second thing you need to have is I call winning members. You need members who are enthusiastic about Toastmasters. I call it the twinkle in the eye. They're looking forward to their Toastmasters meeting, and when guests come, there's an excitement that they have, and they're excited to see guests, and they enjoy coming to the meeting, and there's a positive energy that gets together with the membership. And I have been to Toastmasters meetings that I've been to funerals that were more exciting and more energetic than the Toastmasters meeting. Okay. So why would I want to join a club like that? I can feel like I can go to work and feel crappy all day. I don't want to go to a Toastmasters meeting and feel that way. Okay. So let's look at the officers in charge of this. Now, the first one is building your club, Vice President of Public Relations. The Vice President of Public Relations, I'm going to just tell you right now, is a wrong title. And focusing it from an organizational standpoint, public relations is a very specific technical trade. And most people don't understand it. But the whole purpose of having a relationship with the public is to get members in the club, is to get guests to come. That's what you're trying to do. And I presented this to Dan Rex and Sally Newell-Cohen at Toastmasters International headquarters. And Sally said, Sally's was the number 2 person in Toastmasters. She said, Lance, it's actually a wrong title. It should be the Vice President of Promotion and Marketing. And that is actually how I look at it. This is, you promote and market the club. Now, one of the problems we've had with PR is that in my club too, the PR we get trained the PR to put out press releases and to put out a newsletter and now to do social media. But how does that impact the success of the club? Oh, I put out a newsletter. I put out something on Facebook. Unless there's a direct relationship to that's helping to grow the club, it's a wasted effort. That's great. You got a newsletter. It's great. You got posts on Facebook, but is there anything that's helping to grow the club? And so the whole purpose of Vice President of Public Relations is to get guests to come to the meeting. That's their responsibility. So we have a graph, and the Vice President of Public Relations promotes and markets the club. And the result of that is they get guests to come to the meeting. And that's how we measure the success of our Vice President of Public Relations. They can put out 50,000 newsletters. Doesn't matter if no guests come to the meeting. The responsibility of Vice President of Public Relations is to get guests to come to the meetings. And then you have the Vice President of Membership, and their responsibility is members. So the Vice President of Public Relations gets the guests, which gives the Vice President of Membership the pool to start getting their members from. Now, this is how we set my club up. Now, in the Toastmasters manual, in the officer training, it says that the Vice President of Membership invites guests to the meeting. But from an organizational design structure, that's a faulty structure, because the Vice President of Public Relations should be promoting and marketing the club and getting the guests to come. The VP of Membership is the sales arm that does the closing once the person comes in. That's how we run my club. Now, it's not to say the Vice President of Membership can't bring guests. Absolutely. Every member is responsible for bringing guests. Okay, let's move along. Marketing 101. There's 2 types of basically, when you market products, you have a trial. You trying to get people to try a new product, and then you're trying to get repeat buyers. Okay? And I've marketed products nationally. I was with Nestle in marketing. I was with Anheuser-Busch, which is a huge brewer, Budweiser beer here in the US. And we were always trying to get people to try the product if they weren't trying it. Now, what we're doing in Toastmasters with our Vice President of Public Relations role, we want people to come try the product. It's like when you go through the supermarket and they've got a little stand up there and they've got some, I don't know, some hot dogs or some cheese and crackers, or so they got some food that you've never eaten before, and they've got somebody handing out samples, and you taste the product and you go, oh, that's really good. You may buy it. If you're like me, you'll come back 4 or 5 days in a row and get lunch. And then after 4 or 5 days, you'll go buy the product. Okay. There's people that do the same thing. They have to come to Toastmasters and taste it 4, 5, 6, 10, 12, 15 times. They finally go, okay, I'm going to buy it. But the whole purpose is to get people to try the product. Okay, let's move along. The first thing is, what I'm saying is hang out a sign. There's a lot of Toastmasters clubs that don't even market themselves. And this is your website, social media, meetup, email, from that standpoint. Let people know you're meeting. Now, virtually, this is a little bit more of a challenge than it is if we're meeting in a physical location. But if we have a physical location, I'm saying put a sign out in front of the building. If you're in a tall building, go stick signs in the elevators. If you're meeting in like a big office building, if it was me, I'd go put signs in the back of the door of every toilet. So when people go to the bathroom, they read your Toastmasters promo. I would promote and let people know we're meeting. Okay. So the second action that I have is promotional emails. Okay, we send out, these are emails. These aren't newsletters. That does say newsletter, but the first one is the email that goes out before the meeting, and the second one is the email that goes out after the meeting. And we have quotes from our speakers. So we hit our list twice a week. We meet once a week. We hit our list twice a week with promo. And once somebody's come to our club, they're put on the email list, and we do not take them off unless they ask to be taken off. Okay. And we had a lady one time that came to the club, and we asked people to stand up and tell us how you found out about the club. And she said, well, I was here about 12 years ago. Honest truth. And she says, I've been wanting to come back. And we're like, 12 years ago? And then she goes, but I've been getting your emails. And then we're like, 12 years? She goes, I've been busy. And then she goes, I raised my 2 sons. And 12 years is the school period. Her youngest son had just graduated from high school, and she'd been watching our emails for 12 years, wanting to come back to our club. And once her sons were out of school, she came back and joined the club. So you never know when somebody will come back. And I can go into this in great detail, but the point is, if they come as a guest, they are on the email list, and every meeting they're sent an email. After the meeting, they're sent an email. Okay, what's my next one up here? Okay, then we also have cards that we have. This is like a 4x6 card. And of course, I'm talking in inches. Let's see, I have some up here. Anyway, we tried business cards. We tried flyers with pieces of paper like they were this big. People throw the flyers away, the business card's small. We found a 4x6 card was what worked really well because it's solid. We have enough space on it to put all the information about our meeting, some good photos, and we pass those out. Now, one of the things I recommend, I know we're meeting virtually now, but still, every Toastmasters club sort of services an area. And if you're meeting virtually, but your office is in an area, you can still go pass cards out around your office or around your meeting area and service the geographic area around that. And what I would recommend is every 2 months, go pass some cards out to the businesses around your area and tell them you have a communication and leadership program that meets on Wednesday nights over here or Thursday noon or whenever it meets. And, you know, their employees are welcome to come if they want to, but go out around the immediate area around your club and promote the meeting. And then also I said to friends and coworkers, it's interesting. We do a survey about every 2 years on our membership to see how they got into Toastmasters. And 80% of the people came into Toastmasters on a personal invitation. Somebody invited them into Toastmasters. And that's my story. I'll just tell you that right now. I had a friend of mine invite me to the meeting 8 times. And I finally went to the meeting because I wanted him to stop asking me to go to the meeting. And it was very clear he was not going to stop asking me until I came to the meeting. But he didn't say, Lance, you're a horrible speaker. You need to come to this meeting. Every day he would come, he goes, oh, we had so much fun at our Toastmasters meeting. And he would tell me about it. And he goes, I really want you to come. Every week he would tell me how much fun he was having at his Toastmasters meeting. And I went to it primarily to get him to stop asking me to come to the meeting. Now, the question is, how many of us have asked somebody once or twice to come to the meeting and then they didn't come and we never asked them again? If Glenn had only asked me 7 times, I would not have made it into Toastmasters. Here I am speaking to you in South Africa, a world champion speaker, because Glenn continued to ask me to come to the meeting. Okay, so you maybe have to be a little bit of a pain in the butt, but you can get somebody to come to your meeting. The next area is what I call special meetings or speakers. Okay, so instead of inviting somebody to a meeting, put promo out, have somebody it's a special meeting you want them to come to. Now, the simplicity is if you had Elon Musk come as your guest speaker, do you think you could get some guests come? If you said, hey, we got Elon Musk who's going to speak at my Toastmasters meeting, would maybe some people want to show up and hear him? Okay, well, the chances are you're not going to get Elon Musk, but you can get the district international speech champion. You can get the district humor speech champion. You can get the district table topics champion. I know you have some phenomenal speakers in District 74 that would come and do a talk for you that are maybe professional speakers or they have a topic they want to talk about, but someone that would draw people to come to that specific meeting. And then you promote that to come to that specific meeting. The next one is, okay, these are a bunch of meeting topics you can have that I have. I'm going to zip through this fairly quickly because I want to stay on the time schedule here. You can talk about, I said, networking skills, how to introduce a speaker, lectern etiquette, effective PowerPoint presentations, elevator pitch, how to prepare a speech, thinking on your feet. These are all subjects you can have for a special meeting. You can show a video of the World Championship, show the top 3 speakers in Toastmasters, show the video. That's a great meeting to get guests to come to and they can see what that is. Club speech contest. I can't believe how many guests we get coming to our speech competitions, but they're fun. People don't have to be worried they're going to be called on for table topics, you know. Okay, and then like I said, you can get all the different contest winning speakers you could get to come. You probably have some accredited speakers in District 74, district speakers, world champion speakers. I do specific club programs, but for me to do a club program, you have to put on a special meeting for me. But I have some, I did how to deliver a TED Talk. I did a whole mastering communication series. These are programs I did. And I got a long stories behind that. I won't go into that, the specific ones, but I had a club that had 55 people in it, and they wanted me to come speak to them. And I said, you have to put a special meeting on and invite all the Toastmasters in the area and the public. And they go, we have 55 people. And I go, I don't care. If you're going to get me to come to your club, you have to work and earn me coming to your club. They rented a hall and had 250 people in it with a dinner and an auction. They gave me a 3-camera shoot. It was an incredible experience. I couldn't believe what they pulled off, but they said it brought their club together. And that's what I like to see. They have the club has to come together as a unit to actually build this event. Now, the next one is events and parties outside the club. And this is like a Halloween party. People don't know what Toastmasters is, but they know what Halloween is. And so we got so many people that joined our club because they came to a Halloween party or a Christmas party or a Super Bowl party, or we have a 4th of July, which is our Independence Day. We'd have a 4th of July picnic, and they would come to the 4th of July picnic, and they would meet everybody, and they would come to the meeting the next time. So you can do meetings outside of your Toastmasters, just inviting people and then inviting them to your meeting. And I often say, have a wine and cheese party at somebody's house, and you buy some cheap wine and some cheese, and you have a bunch of people over on a Wednesday night, and you sit in the back of the yard and drink the wine, and you get to learn to speak after drinking, which is an important skill. But the point is, this is fun, it's enjoyable, and the guest gets to know the people. But here's the other thing: they ate your wine, they drank your wine, and they ate your cheese. Now they're indebted to you, and you ask them to come to the meeting, and they're obligated to come to the meeting because they drank your wine. But we've gotten so many people to join our club because they came to a social event that the club hosted, not to build membership, but we hosted it because we like each other and we want to have fun. And they were, like I said, Halloween parties or whatnot. But the members, the people met us and wanted to join the club because it was a fun group of people. The last 2 situations I have here, these are a bunch of holidays in the US. I'm going to skip through those. Speechcraft trainings. Speechcrafts are phenomenal. I know there's a gentleman in Durban I met who has done like 100 youth leadership programs. It was incredible, the number of youth leadership programs. And this is what I've seen with Speechcraft and youth leadership. If you do youth leadership, the parents will see what happens to their kids, and the parents will join Toastmasters. And I've seen that over and over and over again. But we have 2 programs that we can reach out into the public with, which is the Speechcraft program. There we go, Speechcraft program and youth leadership. Back in the 90s, when we were building my club, we would do 2 to 3 Speechcrafts a year, and we would get 2 to 3 new members per Speechcraft. And if you're not familiar with Speechcraft, it used to be the first 6 speeches in the basic CC manual. I have to look at the new one to see what it consists of, but it's a finite training that somebody can do just to learn how to do some public speaking. And what happens is people go, no, I don't want to join a gym for the year. I just want to do a short exercise class. So they do a 6-week exercise class and they feel better, but they realize they need to keep exercising. And that's what Speechcraft is. It's a short program, but then people get through it and they go, I need to keep doing this. But they also have the confidence now to do it. We had a lot of people that did Speechcraft that were afraid to join the club. Their stage fright was so bad, they were afraid to join the club, but they were willing to join in Speechcraft. And the last one is speaking to outside groups. Every Rotary Club, Kiwanis, I don't think you have Kiwanis down there. We have it in the US. Lions Club, Optimus Club, Sir Optimus Moose, Chamber of Commerce. These are clubs in the US. I know Rotary's down there because I'm in Rotary, and I spoke at, when I was down in East London, I did a leadership program for the East London Rotary Club. And I've interacted with a lot of Rotary in South Africa. But all these organizations need speakers every week. And if you have a good speaker in your club, send them out and do a talk on lectern etiquette, or how to introduce a speaker, or how to put your speech together. Do a talk about Toastmasters, or like I do, I speak at Rotary clubs all the time, usually not about Toastmasters, but I'm introduced as a Toastmasters world champion, and then people will ask me about Toastmasters. And I've driven a lot of people into my club because I'm speaking on other subjects, but I'm representing Toastmasters as a good example when I'm out there. Okay, so these are basically six ways, and there are more ways in this. This isn't the only way to do it. There's 1,000 ways to promote your club, but you need to promote it. So let's look at this: website, social media, hangout, a sign, email, cards and flyers to your local area, special meetings and speakers inside the club, events and parties outside the club, speechcraft promotion, and then speaking to community groups. If you just probably do 2 of those, you'll probably get a new member a month if you just do those. Now, we talked about the plan. You put a promotional plan together. So here we have card and flyer distribution, special meetings and speakers, events outside the club. List those out. And then, okay, so I have the dates. We're going to do that. Then I have a spreadsheet we run for every month. And then what we do is we fill in the promotional actions on the spreadsheet. Oops, there we go. On the spreadsheet, so that you put an annual plan together, and like every other month, you're going to have a special speaker inside the club. And then on the other months, you're going to have a party outside the club. And every 2 months, you're going to go pass some flyers out to the businesses around your club and remind them that there's a communication leadership program, and you just go down through this. And twice a year, you're going to do a speechcraft, and you set that up in June or July. And now all you have to do is run the program through the year. That's what else I have on here. And then you execute the plan. That's the simplicity of it. So pop out of this, come back to you live again. Here's the simplicity I want to go over with you, is that there's 1,000 ways to promote a Toastmasters club, but you have to do it. And I've seen so many clubs, and my club included, go, well, we're not sure what to do. And because you're not sure, you don't do anything. Well, I have to tell you, when we decided to build the club from 12 active members, and fortunately we had 35 in the club, but we were dying. We only had 12 coming to the meeting. We were able to revive the 35, which took about 3 or 4 months to do. But when we decided to build the club, we knew we weren't sure what we were doing, but we decided to build the club, and we were moving in the direction we needed to move. So we were willing to fail. And I said, to me, the best thing about Toastmasters, it is the best place in the world to fail. You never get fired. As a matter of fact, you get some good feedback and a pat on the back, and people go, we'll see you next week. And you really screwed up this week. That doesn't happen to me at work. As a matter of fact, if I was going to promote Toastmasters, I would promote it as Toastmasters, a great place to fail. Come here and make all your mistakes. And to this day, this is how I use this organization. Now, I won the World Championship in 2005. You may not know, I started competing in 1993, and I failed for 12 years in Toastmasters. And finally, in 2005, I won it. So I failed my way to, as I say, I lost my way to the World Championship, which is really very, very much the truth. But the big thing about this is just to try things, but to do something, and don't sit there and do nothing. And the last point I want to leave you with before we open this up to questions is this single point. What turned my club around is we decided to build the club. And decide is a very interesting word. It comes from 2 Latin words. It comes from the Latin word de, which means to and away from one of them. Okay, like divide or whatever, de. And also comes from the Latin word cide, side. And when I looked at what other words in the English language end with side, I had homicide, suicide, genocide, pesticide, herbicide. It means to kill, is what it means. So when you have to decide, what it means is to kill one side. Now, technically, it means to cut off one side, but it's the same thing. You kill one side. There is no option anymore. You've decided that's the way you're going. Now, the truth is, we did not start building my club until we decided to build it. And there's a lot of clubs that I sit there and look at, and they never decide to build the club. They keep saying they should. And the analogy I'm going to use is this. Just ask yourself, how many people went to bed last night? Anybody? Okay, a lot of you went to bed last night. How many people got out of bed this morning? Well, I did. Now, how many people laid in bed and thought about getting out of bed before you got out of bed and you didn't get out of bed? I did that this morning. I go, oh, it's so warm in here. I don't have to be up till 8:30. It's Saturday. I'm going to lay a little longer. I'm not going to get up. But I really should get up. I really should get going. No, not quite yet. I didn't get out of bed this morning. And you didn't get out of bed this morning until you decided to get out of bed. And when you decided to get out of bed, you threw the covers off and you got out of bed. No action in life precedes decision. Now, there's a lot of clubs that say, oh, we really need to build a club. We need to get new members, just like laying in bed, but they didn't decide to do it. And if you as a club decide to get new members, you will start getting new members, but you have to decide to do it and kill the other side that you're not going to be a successful club and drive that forward. So Maud, let's do this and move forward to some Q&A. I've taken a little more time than I thought, but I hope this has been beneficial for everybody so far. So I'm more than happy to take some Q&A if someone can do that for me.
Thank you so much to you, Lance. I benefited so much from this discussion. You absolutely have to decide that as a club, you want to be successful. How badly do you want it? If you don't want it badly enough, you're going to make excuses on why you're not able to market your club. There's so many ways to go about it. Lance just hit the tip of the iceberg. We're in this virtual environment. He says it's actually the best time to be able to attract guests into your club. I'm very, very excited. Toastmasters, if you missed the discussion, because it was a very brisk one, reminder that the conversation continues on our social media platforms. This recording will be available on the Toastmasters Southern Africa District 74 YouTube channel. So go back, rewind it, pause, deconstruct everything that Lance has discussed with your team, take what will work for your club and use it. I always say, if you plan to fail, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, but that's not going to happen to you, District 74. So go back, deconstruct, see what will work and put some action to it so that you're able to attract guests to your club. At this point, I see the chat box is going crazy. I've humbly asked our Zoom master to assist us by reading out the questions so that Lance could get started with those. Over to you, Ofani.
Thank you very much, Maud. We have a question from Richard Durling, who is asking, using the 4x6 cards to promote, when distributing them to a local business, do you have any suggestions on how to get them past the front desk?
Well, here's the point. I'm going to use this I have some suggestions for you, but back before Donald Trump was president of the United States, he had this show called The Apprentice. And he'd bring people in and they would have to go out and figure out, they were all competing, and they had to come up with some sort of a job and some sort of a project and who's going to be the most successful. And I sort of look at Toastmasters that way, that we all have our own apprenticeship. And that's what I was saying. Toastmasters are like an apprenticeship. So you have to figure out how to make a Toastmasters club work. But if it was me, I would walk in and I wouldn't just drop them off at the front desk. I would ask to speak to the manager. And let's just say, as an example, let's just say you have a supermarket. Now, when I do these live and I have a lot of dialogue, I said, who in a supermarket needs Toastmaster skills? And everybody says, well, the cashier, the bag person, the boss, the butcher. I'm going, that's not who I'm looking for. The stock boy, the guy that's putting the cans on the shelf, needs the Toastmaster skills. Why? Because he doesn't want to be a stock boy the rest of his life. Okay? He wants to move up. And to be honest, if he joins the Toastmasters clubs, he gets the soft skills to succeed and become a manager. He got meeting management skills, communication skills, leadership skills. But if you walk in and you talk to the manager and you say, are you familiar with Toastmasters? And you have to be able to talk to somebody and say, are you familiar with Toastmasters? We have a club that meets on Wednesday night. Do any of your employees, would they be interested in a communication and leadership program? There's hardly any managers I know that don't want better communication and leadership for their employees. And then I would ask, could you put this on your bulletin board, or maybe they have a mailbox for everybody? How could you distribute this to your employees? Let them know that there's a communication and leadership program, and they can work on their skills. And you have to be able to talk about Toastmasters, but you also have to be able to exemplify that yourself, that you have the communication skills to walk in and talk to somebody. But I wouldn't walk into an office and just drop them off at reception. I would ask to speak to a manager or something and get, just talk to them and say, we're here, we're a very inexpensive program, and we service this area, and we just want to let you know we're here. And one of the things that I compare this to, what if you were running a yoga class? Wednesday night, 7 to 9, a yoga class. Well, you would promote around and say yoga, if you want to do yoga, come down here. Well, we're not running a yoga exercise class. We're running a communication and leadership exercise class, because that's all a Toastmasters Club meeting is an exercise program. We all exercise the different skills of all counting or timing or speaking or being table topics master. Those are all exercises on how to lead, speak, evaluate. That's what those are. So anyway, that's a long answer to that question, but you have to, I would ask to talk to the manager, and you're doing them a favor. I would look at it that you're doing this guy a favor and find out if he's interested. And if he says, no, we can't do that, we have corporate policies on it. Okay, great. How would you recommend, if we wanted to reach your employees, we do it? Is it okay if I stick them on the windshield of the cars outside? Go out in the parking lot and put them out there. Find out what you can do. You have to figure it out for yourself. Anyway, there's some ideas for you.
Thank you, Lance. Another question from Christine Nichols. She asks, any suggestions on getting buy-in from club members to decide?
Well, it was interesting in my club, and this is what happened. We had a core group of us. We had 5 of us that wound up at the meeting one day. The 12 didn't come. And we were all sitting around. We didn't have a meeting. We had coffee, and we're going to keep the club, or we're going to close it. And one of the guys said, well, we're going to do this. Let's win with Toastmasters, or let's do something else and win with it. But I don't want to sit here and fail at this thing. And somebody else said, well, they rank it. So let's be a top 10 club. We didn't know what that was. The 5 of us decided. And I think it takes a core. I don't think one person deciding, then they try to go beat up the club. We had a core of us that decided to build the club, and we started getting in communication. We literally called everybody in the club, and we did a survey on them, and we found out what was going on, but we came up with a plan. And we probably got another, of the 35 people, we probably got another 10. So we probably had about 15 of us that were interested in being a top 10 club. And all we did, we started moving the club in that direction. And as the club started to move in that direction, but we were telling people we want to be a top 10 club, but a lot of the club it wasn't a game for them. But when they saw the club start to win, they got on board with being a top 10 club, and they started to see the momentum going. So the thing I would say is start with a core group, and it should be your officers. It should be, this is what we're trying to do, but you can't force the thing in on Toastmasters, but you can move it forward, and they can go, oh, this train's really moving, I want to get on it. From that standpoint. But to back it up too, it takes a lot of, the simplicity is we had 5 of us that met. We all had personal communication, and then we broke up the club and we all called the individuals in the club. It takes a lot of one-on-one personal communication. You don't send an email, you don't send an email out and do that. You get on the phone and talk to someone, or meet them for coffee and talk to somebody and say, this is what we want to do, and I'd like your help with it. I think you'd be great at helping us build this club up like this. And that's the way you get the buy-in, is on a one-on-one basis, not on a blast email blast out to everybody.
Interesting. A core group and direct communication. We have another question from Annelisizwe Linda Zuma, who says the following. We have a social media page, but we have an issue with admin and moderators. As Vice President of Public Relations, I cannot post. I suggested we delete the current page and create a new one, but that idea was turned down because the number of people on the page. But now the page is ideal due to the person who cannot post other the person in charge cannot, as this he has other commitments. Do you have any suggestions on that?
Well, that's a very specific, complex problem for your specific club. And we've run into all sorts of stuff with social media and who's going to post it and what's going to happen. My recommendation is you sit down with your executive committee, and if you have any past presidents in your club, meet with them and say, we need to solve this problem. And you guys need to sit down and figure out what's going to actually solve the problem for you. But to try to diagnose that and come up with a solution for you on this call it would take some time, and it would detract from everybody else who has questions. But the simplicity is use the brain power, the brain trust in your club. And the whole idea is you want to do it. If you don't want to do it, it's not going to move forward. Remember that decision. If you want to have this social media page and you want to have these things, we got to figure out how to do it. Let's get together and figure out what will work. And that's part of your leadership development. That's part of your team building development that you have in Toastmasters, is that you learn how to solve this problem. And when you learn how to solve this problem, you gain increased confidence in yourself that you can solve other complex problems that you didn't know how to solve them. So that's your instruction to get more out of Toastmasters.
Thank you. Another question from Monifa St. John, who says the following. I'm in the Caribbean small islands, and we have 3 established clubs. Should we collaborate more to get more persons through the door?
I would think absolutely. First of all, I've spent a lot of time in the Caribbean, and 3 clubs on an island would be great. 3 different locations, 3 different times, sort of 3 different cultures. But I would have, like the promotion actions I'm talking about, I would have all 3 clubs come together and bring in speakers. And then the guests come and you share the guest lead and what location, what time slot is best for the different people. But absolutely, I would work together as a group to promote Toastmasters on the on the island, promote Toastmasters clubs on the island. And I would look at trying to build each of those clubs up to a 40 to 50 member club, where you have good, strong clubs, not have 8 clubs of 15 members. That's just going to drive everybody nuts. But absolutely, collaborate.
Fantastic. Collaboration is key among Toastmasters. A question from Shana, who says the following. How do we get members to embrace the responsibility of bringing guests in? I see this falling on club officers very often.
Well, this is a leadership skill. How do you get your employees to be enthusiastic about coming to work? How do you get your salespeople to go out and sell more product? Okay, how do you get your warehouse guys to actually get the product out the door on time? And it's not all about money. It's about inspiration. It's about purpose. It's about feeling that they can. And a lot of people get into Toastmasters because they have communication issues, and that's why they join Toastmasters. They don't feel comfortable talking to people. So again, it's a one-on-one basis of working with them and seeing what they could do. The other thing here's one of the things I'd recommend is share the successes between the members. And if somebody said, I've been really nervous, but I did ask 3 people and 2 of them came as guests. And we have so much failure in our lives. And a lot of people that get into Toastmasters are struggling. And I had these issues going on, but they're struggling with my self-worth. And am I really able? I'm in this program. Maybe I can learn to stand up and speak and not be, have butterflies and be so nervous. But we don't have people that are already dynamic leaders coming to Toastmasters typically. We have people that want to be dynamic leaders. So the whole point is within the club culture, and the 2 things I'm going to recommend here is we can do a deep dive on this, but is addressing the interest and the willingness of the person to build the club, and who would they like to see in the club. Not you have to go out and find new people. Who are your friends that you would like to have in the club here? Are you having a fun time? They go, yeah, I'm having a fun time. The other thing is one of the key things I work at is too big of a step causes people not to do it. So I see, is there a smaller step? Is there a lower gradient we can do? And so maybe instead of getting a guest to come, could you just ask them, could you just send this email out to 3 people? Instead of saying, I want you to get guests to come to the meeting, could you just send this email out? Do you have 5 people? Or we're going to have a coffee. Could you invite some friends to a coffee? They feel more comfortable. You have to find out what their consideration is. But promoting the success of people who are inviting guests and how much the guest appreciated being invited once they came, I think would actually start the ball rolling on it a little bit. And I just want to, again, I can do a 5 to 7 minute on each one of these. What happened in my club when we got the club members winning, which remember I said a dynamic club experience and winning members, we got our members speaking frequently and they started to win with the program and they started to get in the twinkle in the eye of being excited about Toastmasters. They started bringing guests in when they were winning with Toastmasters. So that's the other thing I would look at is get them to speak frequently and start to win with Toastmasters, and they'll start to win. They'll want to bring guests in when they start to win with the program.
Indeed. Baby steps lead to a giant leap.
Exactly.
Another question, a question from Granny B007. In a marketing club, a variety of types of people come. We have noticed some types of people that float in and out of Toastmasters without sinking their teeth and adding value or receiving value. Have you done any focused marketing to draw specific types of people that are not just hungry for personal growth, but are doers and are readily pulled up sleeves, have readily pulled up their sleeves to do what it takes?
Good question. And one of the things I look at is that if you have a properly functioning organization, the vice president of membership doesn't just sign everybody up. We created a club culture in my club, and the VP of membership would sit down and explain to the person what's expected of them. If you're going to join this club, don't come just to speak. You don't come once a month. We need to attend meetings regularly. There's no mandate that you have to be here at every meeting, but you're not going to get anything out of the program if you're not here. But we let them know that they need to be a functionary, they need to do speech evaluation, they need to be table topics master, they need to be Toastmaster, and they're going to be asked to be an officer. And that's all part of the development of the club. And so we set the standard when the person's coming in versus doing some major case study marketing program to identify certain people. When guests come in, we just have a good conversation with them and say, this is what the program is. And if you want to come in and just speak, that's not what the program is, because speaking makes up 25% of the benefit gain, the personal gain in Toastmasters. Okay. I'll just let you know the other 25% of it is being functionaries and evaluators. Functionaries, you start to learn how to listen. Then you learn how to give good feedback to people. And that's critical in any management job, is to be able to give good feedback, evaluation. We call it coaching in my club. We don't call it evaluation, because I can evaluate you and tell you that you're fat and your shirt's ugly and I didn't do you any good. The whole idea is to coach somebody to a better position. Speaking, listening and feedback, meeting management, knowing how to run that Toastmasters meeting and bring it in right on time and be a pro at running meetings. I run business meetings all the time. People love to come to my meetings because I know how to run a meeting. And the last one is your leadership development by being an officer. Those are the 4 years of development. And speaking is 25% of it, and so by becoming a great evaluator, becoming a great running meetings excellently, becoming a good leader, you fill in the soft skills you need to be successful out in the business environment or out in the community. So you need to set that standard with them coming in the meeting.
Fantastic suggestion. Setting the standard in as soon as the potential member comes into the meeting. A question from Devika. Hi, I am Toastmaster Devika from Mauritius. I am excited about the new club which I've initiated to create. Please share. Please, can you share what is getting a chartered club in a few days? Oh, excuse me. Go to this. What does it take to get a club chartered in a few days? Unfortunately, we're in lockdown, and members now should attend online. So, what can I use to motivate them in order to come to a club? What is the best strategy for promotion? Thank you.
Okay, so I got three questions there. How to get it chartered? Is it getting chartered in a couple days or a meeting online? I didn't understand the question. I thought you were through 3 times. So just
Sorry.
tell me what you want to know here.
I think Davika, I think Davika is basically
Yes.
asking the following.
Hi, good evening. I'm
Good evening.
Devika from Mauritius. Yes, what I put on the question is I'm very excited to share that I have created a new club, and the club is getting chartered in the next few days. So what is the challenge that I'm facing now? The club was meant to be meeting face to face, but now we are now on lockdown here in Mauritius, and encouraging those members to come as new members to face the meeting online. That's a challenge for them. That's one thing. Secondly, I'm planning to, of course, promote the club to attract more members. So I would be asking you, what would be the very first promotional strategy that would serve the club in the best interest of all? Thank you.
Okay. Well, as far as getting your new members in, they had the purpose of joining the club. And this is where organizations run on two things primarily. They run on communication and they run on agreement. And it takes a lot. Another point I learned in Toastmasters, I apply this in business, but the amount of communication necessary to run any organization, any group of human beings is grossly underestimated. And I'm talking people put 5% of the amount of communication into the organization that they need to put into. They need 100%. They're only putting 5 in. So what I would recommend is talk to each one of them and say, hey, this is fantastic. We got this club going. As you know, with COVID, what's happening, we have to meet online, but we're going to do that. We're going to have a successful club. I wouldn't say, is it okay with you? You say, this is what we have to do to make it work. And so make sure you're on time. Is that going to work? You have your Zoom connection, what's going on? But I would talk to each one of those members and say, to make this club work, this is what we have to do right now. But this is part of the Toastmasters experience, which it is not on automatic. You have to make the club work yourself, and you have to figure out how to do that. So good, straightforward communication with everybody. This is what we're doing. I would get everybody started on their roles and their speaking roles, and so that they are starting to get the benefit out of Toastmasters right up front. And congratulations on starting your club. The best marketing action, to me, I don't know where you are, and I don't know all the circumstances around your club, but to me, the best marketing action I've seen members come in based on personal invitations. I would have all your members try to find 3 or 4 friends that they would want to come to the meeting and experience the meeting and say, we just started a new Toastmasters club. We want to get 20 new members in or something. And I want you to come as a guest and see what I'm doing. Get your existing membership to invite their friends to the meeting is the most direct initial marketing action you can do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right. A question from Yana Sonda. How should we deal when some members start talking during meetings or in the chat about politics and other divisive topics?
So the speaker must not be very good, is what I've got to say, if they're chatting on politics. It's interesting in my club. I know a lot of Toastmasters clubs say no political or religious speeches. In my club, it's okay. But the point is, you're not speaking to try to convince us. You're here to get feedback on how to say your message better. Okay, so we're going to coach you on how to give that message better. And we've had some people that had very fixed political viewpoints and tried to enforce them on the club. And we just kept coaching them and giving them really good feedback on how to say it better. And they did one of two things. They improved or they left. But you have to look at what's going to work for your club. If, let's say, political conversations on chat during speeches, you're not listening to the speaker. You have to put the purpose of the club there. The purpose of the club is to help everybody become a better communicator and a better leader. And if somebody's speaking and you're talking about politics on chat, you're really not being a good audience member. You're not being a good team member in the club. And if you need to put a policy in, by the way, we put a lot of our own policies in my club, not Toastmasters policies. They're Renaissance speakers. That's the name of my club, my Renaissance speakers policies. And if you need to put a policy in that we don't approve of political or religious talk because during the meeting, because it is upsetting to people and it doesn't build a strong club. And we're interested in having a strong club, a safe environment for people to come to. And this is not a debate club. This is a club where you're learning. You need to sort that out, but that is something you're going to have to figure out. But that's part of the Toastmasters experience, is having something like this come up, and you have to figure out how to remedy it and keep your club together and keep it growing. Just like if you were on the show The Apprentice and you had some people that were, I don't know, trying to persuade each other to go to each other's church or vote for a different politician, and they're not selling their hot dogs on the street or something, you got to get them back selling hot dogs. And in this case, selling hot dogs in Toastmasters is doing the Pathways program, doing your evaluations, running your meetings, being a leader. That's what we do. That's what we focus on. So you have to figure that out. But the purpose of the club is the purpose, is the purpose. I'm in a Rotary also, and we've had a huge, with this whole racist thing that's happened in the US and stuff like that, we've had a bunch of stuff hit our Rotary Club, and we're trying to keep it back on Rotary and not let these political, social aspects come in the Rotary Club that have been disrupting the Rotary Club that I'm in also. So these are things we have to learn to do across all aspects of life.
Policies make it the club. Thank you, Lance. A question from, a question from Shi Fong Shi, who asks, the club members that I have are inactive. How do I give them the drive to be active in their Toastmasters?
Well, I'd recommend you pay them for each speech that they give. Maybe $200, and they probably become active very, very quickly. Of course, I'm being facetious on that, but here's the point. And communication, you need to talk to each one of them. And you need to find out why they're in the club. What's their purpose? Purpose is what gives us the energy to move forward in life. My definition of life or living is imbuing energy into my purpose. That's when I feel alive. They have a purpose for coming to the meeting. What is that? You got to find that out. And then you got to say, you have a purpose for being here. And if it's to listen to good speeches, that's great. But the purpose of the Toastmasters Club is the personal development. We need you active. I need you to help row the boat. Okay, you can't just come sit in the boat. And you need to talk to them and see what their purpose is. And maybe they have a personal barrier that they're afraid. I don't know, maybe they don't like the Pathways program. They did great on the Legacy program. They didn't want to do the transition, but they like the people. This is where I talk about the amount of communication necessary to run an organization is grossly underestimated. You have to be able to sit down and listen to people, hear them, figure out what's going on. And I would just talk to them and ask them, well, I really would like for you to be, you can't say you have to be active because that is you determining them. They have to be willing to be active on their own part. And as a leader, you have to access that willingness. You have to access that interest in them, that they are willing on their own part to be active in the club. But perhaps maybe they would be willing to be all counter. You start small. Remember, I talked about the baby steps. Could you be timer? Could you be an all counter? Could you be grammarian? Maybe you could tell a joke at the meeting and you get them reactivated. And then here's the other point I would recommend. If they've been there for a while, people in general love to help other people. They love to be of value and help other people. And if you say, I need your help, I need your help in making this a great club. We have a lot of people who aren't active. I need your help in helping. Maybe you don't tell them that they're the one that's inactive, but we have a lot of people that are inactive, and I need you to help set an example of what we want in the club as being an active person. So could you help me do that? And the whole idea they're going to help you elevates their self-esteem, elevates their self-worth because they are contributing to another's well-being. And I have a conversation with each one of the people and say, could you help me with the club, and see if you can get them to help you. Those are just a couple different ideas I have, but you got to listen. You got to get into communication. You can't just send an email out and expect them to show up and do something. Talk to them, listen to them, build your team, build your agreement. We're dealing with human beings. We're not dealing with computers. We're emotional entities. You have to connect with us emotionally. And not upset us, or we'll walk out the door. But part of your leadership skills now, your challenge in your apprentice program is to take a big group of deadbeats and figure out how to bring them back to life. Okay.
So communicate, find out their purpose, either realign or focus why they're here in Toastmasters. That is how we get them. That's how we get our Toastmaster members active. A question from Lucinda Hardman. Lucinda asks, how do you convert an ordinary Toastmaster into an extraordinary one? Apparently, you are well known for this.
I dip them in hot oil, and that usually gets them moving really fast. Okay. How do you, an ordinary, again, it's the same thing. You get the person winning with Toastmasters. That's what I've seen. This program's a real simple program. You just do it. You do the speeches, you do the speech evaluations, you run the meeting, you're table topics master. It is a program of doing things. And it's like going to the gym. And if you go to the gym one day, you're just stiff. But if you go 3 days a week, after 3 or 4 weeks, you get over your stiffness and you start to build some muscle and you start to feel better and you start to feel more able to have the energy to live life. Toastmasters is the same way. And so get the person actively doing roles in Toastmasters and push them on the edge of their comfort zone on a continuous basis. But the nice thing is the gradient steps that we can do. You come into Toastmasters and you're sort of this nervous thing, and we have you do a icebreaker. And then I usually want the person to do the functionary roles, but eventually the first leadership role we move somebody into is table topics master. And they have to take over part of the meeting and ask questions and call people up. And it's a little bit of a leadership role. And then, then they get to be the general evaluator and evaluate the meeting. And then you get to be the Toastmaster and put the whole meeting together. And then we move on up into other leadership roles as far as being, the sergeant at arms and the different components. But there's sort of a progression you can go through. But the point is to get the person winning with Toastmasters. And you win with Toastmasters by doing the program and gaining competence in the different areas. That's the fundamental that we've run in my club. And the idea that everybody else is doing it great and I'm struggling with it is not the case. Everybody in Toastmasters is struggling how to run their clubs. And this is why I push this concept of it's like The Apprentice, or it's your club to run. It's your franchise and you figure out how to run it. In the US, we have, American football, but I know in rugby and football in Africa. But if you had a rugby team and you said, well, we're not winning any games. Well, practice harder. Go recruit some good players, right? You don't go to the head of the rugby league and say, could you bring some more players in? We don't know what to do. If you have a rugby team, you figure out how to have a winning rugby team, and you go practice and you play hard and you figure out what your opponents are doing. Same thing if you have a business and somebody opens up down the street with the same business. You got to be a little bit more competitive. You got to treat your people nicer. You got to have a cleaner store or whatever. You've got to figure it out. And this is the beauty of Toastmasters is you get in this club. And it is not a given success. The success comes from your energy that you put into it. Just like I started off, the gas you put into this club is going to determine the success of the club.
Thank you, Lance. The gas you put into this club is going to determine what club you come out with. A question from Mohammed Kasim, who asks, how do I get members that are not executing their duties to hold? How do I get my executive members how do I hold my executive members to account if they do not perform their duties?
You got to love them. You can't, here's the point. This is my experience. Most people take on a officer role in Toastmasters and they want to do a good job, but we get started and then they don't start it right away, and they sort of feel like their life's busy and I'm not sure what to do, and they get 2 or 3 months into it and it's not going well. Then they start to feel bad because they're not doing what they said they would do, and they wanted to be successful at it, but they're not being successful at it. And I said, all of us have a long list of taking on different jobs or having different failures in life. And it sort of starts to kick in this failure train behind us. And they start to feel bad that they're in the position. Then they start sweating it out, waiting until their term's up and they can turn the role over. And this is, as a president, you need to go sit down with them and have coffee and tell them you love them. And I'm not saying you just tell them you love them, but you let them know you really care about them, and you let them know how important they are and how pleased you are to have their assistance, and how you're struggling to hold the club together as the president, and you need the team to work together. And then as president, if this it sounds like the position you're in, you help them get started. And the whole thing I learned to do as president of the club was to work with my officers and make sure they were winning as officers. And I always say I do this in another talk, but there's two reasons I do that. One is they should have a positive experience being an officer in a Toastmasters club, and they should win with it, and they should feel good about it. That's one reason I help them win. The second reason is if they don't do their job, I get it. And I'm going to be overwhelmed if I've got to if I've got to sign up every member, if I got to send out every newsletter, if I've got to set up every meeting, if I've got to schedule every meeting as vice president of education, if I got to collect the dues, I'm going to be overwhelmed as president. I need my team down there doing it. So I sit down with them and talk to them and get their agreement, lots of communication, and get their agreement, and I'll help them get started. And maybe I have to meet with them every week for 2 or 3 weeks until they sort of start to get the hang of it. And every time I've done this, I've seen people finally go, no, I got this, I'm doing well. I can just call them on the phone. But you do it with care. You don't do it with force. You don't do it with a fist. You do it by caring for people, by loving people, by inspiring people, by letting them know they're good people. You want to help them succeed. This is how you help people. And so, you do it with a lot of, and I'll just tell you, do it the other way, they'll leave the club. You can ask me how I know that. Okay, I have the experience of that one, but no, you have to care about people. And then what happened to me, I learned to manage that way, and I started managing that way in commercial operations. And then people started to love to come to work because I wasn't holding money over their head. I was inspiring them, caring about them, wanting to see that they succeeded at their job.
Thank you very much, Lance. I see our public relations manager is on.
Maud has reappeared. I'm happy, just so you know, we can go as long as you want. I'm happy to go, but if I want to stay within your confines as well. So it's still early for me. It's 10:20 in the morning for me, so I've got all day.
Maud will
Buddy, I'm not
allow
sure
me.
if there are other questions in the chat box that you'd like to round up.
Yes, a question from myself and then a question from Panos. So let's start with Panos. Panos asks, as a corporate club coach, a lot of mishaps have happened in the club, and we've had a lot of mishaps in our club, and that are swept under the carpet with superficial reasoning, such as it is okay because we're a corporate club, as if we're wearing a corporate, as if they are wearing the corporate badge of honor and a free card to mismanage club processes. How would you go about bringing this club committee back to reality? Thank you.
Well, Panos, that's a really good question. And without specifics, it's hard to focus. Like I said, in solving any problem, you want to have a correct diagnosis on the problem. And so we can see what's going on. But what I always do is I go back to purpose, the purpose of the club. And I stand on that all the time. And quite honestly, we've had meetings. I mean, we've had some meetings where the Toastmaster or a speaker just gave a speech that went off the rails. And I mean, the whole club is like, I can give you just horror stories of the meeting. And we had to bring the purpose of the club back at the end of the meeting. And one of the things I always say, the purpose of the club is a safe place to fail. And we've had speakers like that. I would, a couple of times I was the last person standing at the meeting. I said, "Do we all agree you failed today?" And everybody goes, "Yeah." Good. It's just, would you rather have him fail here in the club or be out in the world failing like that? And they go, "No, fail in the club." And everybody started clapping and going, "That's great." And you revitalize the purpose. So if you have situations where people aren't doing the Toastmasters program, they're doing something else. As you said, they're sweeping stuff under the rug, and they're not doing the program as it's set up. That's not Toastmasters. You have to do the program as it's set up, and it works. So you bring the purpose back that this program is not to, let's say, be in a corporate, a corporate setting. The purpose of the program is to develop communication, coaching, meeting skills, meeting leadership skill and leadership skills, meeting management skills and leadership skills. That's the purpose. We want to make sure we keep this purpose, that everybody has an opportunity to come in here and make their mistakes, and they have the opportunity to come in here and fail. And doing things that sweep stuff under the rug and don't give people that opportunity doesn't push the purpose of the organization. And the whole reason that we have this club in the corporate environment is to develop the leadership skills of our members. And this is how it works. I would just come back to that based on what you said. But without the specifics of what's going on, it's hard to diagnose what a remedy for that situation would be.
Thank you very much, Lance. Now, a question for myself. And this goes to your presentation on trial and repeat in terms of public relations. What effective messaging would you use when posting on your social media page, Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn? For example, would you say that member moments and achievements are good in attracting guests to your club? Or there are other types of categories or other types of messages that would attract guests to your club?
Well, we have a social media aspect on our club, and we post on Facebook. I don't know, we post a lot on LinkedIn, but we post on Facebook. We have our own, Facebook group and things like that. We post on Toastmasters groups. We post on groups that we're affiliated with here in Los Angeles. But here's the point: different things are going to appeal to different people. And the other thing about promotion is, and this is, anybody that's marketed a business knows this. Let's say you have a dry cleaner and a new dry cleaner in town. They start to send promo out to all the homes around the dry cleaner. Very few people come in on the first, card they get in the mail. It usually takes 6, 7, 8 before they come in. And then they see it, oh, they've seen it enough times. You have to hit people repeatedly. So one of the things on your social media, it's not just one posting that'll bring somebody in. It's consistent posting, and you don't know what's going to bring somebody in. I've been surprised, and unless you do very thorough market research and survey your people, and then that's hard to do in a Toastmasters environment because we don't have the time or the money to do that. I would post different things, but I would keep them fun. Great place to get over your stage fright. I would post successes. I would post multiple things and track which one is actually coming in. Now, for me, most of the stuff I do is on a one-on-one basis or a direct I'll email somebody, invite them to the club. I don't typically go out and put a bunch of stuff up on social media trying to get people to come to my club. Or because I speak a lot, and that's one of the things, I speak a lot, I get people reaching to me because I speak. And so I direct them to a club, or if it's my club, it's great, or I direct them to another club from that standpoint. But I think everybody's got a little bit of a different, they're going to respond to something a little different. And my recommendation on that is to post different things and track them and see what actually resonates. And here's the point: you never know when something really resonates well with someone, but they're preoccupied with something else and they can't come, but they thought that was a great message. And then they respond to a message 4 times later. You had 4 more messages and they responded to that one, but the one that really hooked them was 4 times earlier. You don't know those things until you talk to them. So just keep good quality content going out on your social media. And one of the big things that I always recommend, it's a fun, friendly environment. When we did surveys on my club, the number 1 reason people wanted to come to the Toastmasters Club is it was fun. The number 2 reason was they wanted to see their friends. And the number 3 reason was the personal improvement. We maintain a fun, friendly environment. That is one of the most critical things we do in my club. It's always a fun, friendly environment. And when it doesn't go fun, friendly, we have to return it to fun, friendly, and then we correct the person who wasn't fun and friendly. So there's just some ideas there. I wish I had something specific, but I'm going to just come back to this whole concept of you're on an apprentice program and you've been given a Toastmasters club to run and to make it successful. And there is not a given recipe, a fixed way to do this. This is live living with human beings who are emotional. Every club has a different dynamic to it, has a slightly different culture, and you got to figure out how to make it work. We give you the tools, but you got to swing the hammer.
Thank you very much. Consistency, consistency, consistency.
Exactly.
Maud, there are no more questions. Over to you.
Thank you so much to you for leading that session, Alfani. It's greatly appreciated. I love the concept of thinking about Toastmasters as an apprentice program, a place or a platform where you get to cultivate courage so that when you go out into the real world, you exude the confidence of a leader, a place where you can make mistakes. Unfortunately, in corporate, when you make mistakes, it might just cost you. Why not use Toastmasters as a platform where you can make those mistakes repeatedly and go out into the real world and dazzle? Lance Miller, on behalf of Toastmasters right here in Southern Africa, I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for your expertise and your experience that you've brought to making this masterclass a success. I cannot thank you enough. I also want to thank all the Toastmasters that have come from across the world. One thing I love about Toastmasters is that we are a global community. So I'm interested to know and hear from our Toastmasters via the chat box, what tactics have you implemented at your club, in your area and your division to attract guests, especially in this virtual environment that we find ourselves in? Toastmasters, I want to just remind you yet again that the recording for this masterclass will be available on our YouTube channel tomorrow. It's Toastmasters Southern Africa District 74. Please go back, deconstruct everything that was discussed, see what will work for your club, and most importantly, implement. There is still an opportunity for us Toastmasters to talk up Toastmasters and let the world know about this amazing organization that's changed many lives. The membership building campaign is still running. It's called Talk Up Toastmasters, where if your club adds 5 new, dual, or reinstated members with a joining date of either the 1st of February, which is past, or the 1st of March, your club will get to be recognized as one of the clubs that would have achieved that milestone. And if you're from District 74, you will receive 250 points in the club fitness rewards program. I'm very, very excited about this. I also want to mention that we're going to be launching a competition that involves something relating to Lance Miller. I'll tell you a little bit about that a little later. But as I always say, Toastmasters, what would an event be without a photo session? I'm going to humbly ask all of us to please turn on our cameras so that we can capture this moment for our social media pages. And I'm going to ask Ofani yet again to please assist us by capturing the moment. Over to you, Ofani.
Right, ready and waiting. Just a bit more. Big smiles, everyone. Okay, everybody's almost there. Almost there. Michael Shackleton, Paula, we are waiting for you. Nice, cheese. And one more. Thank you.
Thank you so much to you. Toastmasters, before we take the conversation a little bit south and speak about corporate clubs, I'm going to call upon our district director, who's going to tell us about a District 74 initiative to assist you in promoting and marketing your club. Please welcome onto the virtual stage yet again, our district director, distinguished Toastmaster, Meryl Jabba. Over to you, Meryl.
Thank you so much, Maud. And as you heard in the beginning of Lance Miller's presentation this evening, it really is about making a decision as to whether you are going to grow your club or not. Getting that core group of people excited about Toastmasters again, and getting them to be that core group that is going to grow the club. Now, in District 74, we have a budget, and that budget is for clubs that want to get back up to charter strength. And to actually be able to qualify for this initiative, all that you need to do is actually put in a claim form. I've posted it in the chat box, so you can download it. And all you need to do is put together a PR strategy. Now, tonight, you were overwhelmed with so many ideas that Lance Miller gave us as to how you can grow your club and how you can get your members excited, how you can get your exco excited about doing their roles, about the members starting their journey and becoming extraordinary Toastmasters members by winning. And I think that is the key. But one of the things you need, as Lance said, is you cannot become a great leader or a great speaker when your club is only a strength of 8 or 10 members. So if you want to grow your club and you're serious about it and you've made that decision, then fill in the claim form that I've popped in the chat box, and you will be given 1,000 Rand to promote your club using Facebook posts, whether you need airtime for people to follow up with guests that came to the clubs, whether you need data to do that, or whether you want to use that money to boost your Facebook pages and thereby growing your club. Many of our clubs around the district have taken this initiative and have seen the success, and it's not too late. We have another 4 months of the year, 3.5 months of the year left for your club to get back to charter strength and become that vibrant, energetic club that Lance Miller was speaking about tonight. Back to you, Maud.
Thank you so much to you, distinguished Toastmaster Meryl Jabba. Toastmasters, it's an initiative for District 74. I encourage you to make use of it. If you're hearing about this for the first time, you're going to hear about it in the recording. I will speak about it a little later today and for the rest of the week. We want to empower for maximum impact. At District 74, we're striving for progress this Toastmasters year. So please make use of the initiative or the funding available to assist you in promoting and marketing your club, because we want to see your club successful. Thank you so much for that, Meryl. Toastmasters, I promised that we would speak a little bit about corporate clubs. One of the beauties of our District 74 is that we don't only have community clubs, but we have a large number of corporate and university clubs. And as always, I'm very passionate about corporate clubs. I know that you are too. And so the members who are part of corporate clubs, or perhaps you are coaching a corporate club, we hope that you'll find this next few minutes very, very insightful. I mentioned at our previous Masterclass Toastmasters that we have two groups of corporate clubs. We have closed corporate clubs, which are only for the employees within the corporate, and we also have open corporate clubs that allow members from outside of the club as well as employees of the club. Which kind of a corporate club are you from? Let us know in the chat box. So which corporate club are you coaching at this time? Toastmasters, we also mentioned that with corporate clubs, like community clubs, it's very important that you understand your target market. Whilst the corporate may have hundreds of employees, it's impossible to speak to everyone. They say if you speak to everyone, you speak to no one. And so it's important to understand who you're targeting within the corporate so that you're able to tailor your message for that target market. Another thing that becomes important for you to understand, Toastmasters, is the culture of that company. If you're a high energy Toastmaster like I am, and you enter a lower energy club, or you coach a low energy club, there may be a misfit and vice versa. And so it's important to understand the culture of that company so that you're able to provide assistance to that company in line with their culture. We shared some ideas on how you can go about promoting the club and bringing some of the much needed energy that is needed at corporate clubs, especially during this time as many of us are still working remotely. I'll touch and expand on some of the others that we discussed at the previous masterclass. I've written here, try shorter meetings more often. It is customary here at District 74, and I don't know about from your part of the world, we meet twice a month, every second week. Perhaps for a corporate club, look at meeting once a week or every week, but making the events shorter. Instead of having a 2-hour event, maybe look at having 1-hour power-packed session every week. That way, you're able to attract employees who are perhaps not able to attend the event on the day that you're hosting it, because we're going to have another one next week, the following week, and the next one. Another thing to look at is, as a suggestion, is perhaps vary the meeting dates and the times. This is very risky, but of course, when you understand the corporate culture, you may see that you may find success in this. If, for example, an employee is always got a meeting on a Monday and the club meets on a Monday, it may be impossible for them to attend. But if the events were varied, perhaps 2 events on a Monday and other 2 on a Wednesday, for example, you may find that you will, or may find that you will have some greater success. That's just a suggestion. In the previous masterclass, we spoke about variety. This is not limited to just corporate clubs, but it's critical in a corporate club that you bring variety to each event. Invite new employees to the Toastmasters Club. And many companies, they have an internal communication when they announce new employees that have joined the corporation. How about inviting those new employees to your Toastmasters event, just so that they know about Toastmasters, and who knows, you may be able to attract your next guest. We spoke about inviting your executives as keynote speakers to your event. That's a beautiful way of incorporating the executives or the leaders of your corporation, and also getting the word out there about Toastmasters. I don't know about you, but if my CEO is speaking at my corporate club, I definitely want him to know that I'm a member of the corporate club. So have a look at, perhaps, instead of inviting a keynote speaker from outside the corporation, look at inviting executives from inside the corporation, so that you create that inclusive environment that is conducive to a corporate club. It's very important, Toastmasters, that if you're coaching a corporate club or a member of one, that you promote Toastmasters internally. Find out what or which platforms are available to you to promote your club internally and make use of them. But never, and I've written here, never disregard word of mouth. Many of us are still working virtually. Having a conversation with your colleagues over a social media platform is also an idea, in addition to using the internal platforms that are available to you. Last month, we spoke about centering each event around a pain point. At this time, we're working virtually, we're exhausted, we've got Zoom fatigue, we're working harder than we ever have. These are some of the pain points that we're having to deal with as employees. Center your events around those, instead of having themes that unfortunately mean nothing to even a guest from a community club. Some of the pain points I've written here are time management, digital skills, work-life balance, things that are relatable to employees within a company. Never forget, Toastmasters, that you also need to promote your members' achievements internally. The same way you would rely on your internal communications or your corporate affairs to announce your events, would be a perfect platform for you to announce the achievements of your members to the rest of the corporation. Last month, we spoke about Toastmasters jargon. We love our jargon, Toastmasters. I am achieving my DTM and I'm on level 1. We are the Exco and we're chasing the DCP. Beautiful. Unfortunately, to a guest, even in a community club, that jargon means nothing, Toastmasters. So let us, instead of using Toastmasters or using Toastmasters jargon, use phrases that are easy to understand and that are relatable. At my home club, we do not use, for example, the normal Toastmasters phrases, because we wanted to create that environment that our club is a corporation, and therefore our president is the chief executive officer. Our vice president of education is learning and development. Our vice president of membership is the human resources management, who's responsible for recruiting members. Our vice president of public relations is our marketing manager, much like Lance mentioned. Our treasurer is a finance manager. Our sergeant at arms is our logistics manager, and our secretary is our administration manager. All terms that are familiar to all of us who are in corporate. So let's just be mindful of our Toastmasters jargon so that we don't lose those members in unfamiliar terms. I spoke about something that I'm very passionate about, and I heard this from Andrew Tsuru about 3 years ago, to give credit where it's due. He said, what if instead of a meeting, you created an event? And that really struck me. At this time, especially in the virtual environment, we're attending a lot of meetings. And so when you position Toastmasters as yet another meeting, it can be draining. So how about thinking of your meeting as an event, where instead of an agenda that you'd have at a meeting, you have a program. Suddenly, you have elevated a normal Toastmasters meeting to an event. Just a thought. I've also written here, consider elevating some of the exco roles so that they're relatable to corporate. Much like what I mentioned, we have a lot of vice presidents in Toastmasters, which is really great, but in a corporate, unfortunately, those don't really mean much. So if you change it to terms that are relatable within a corporate environment, you may be able to change the energy of that Toastmasters club. We spoke about certain elements that are typical at a Toastmasters event that may or may not work at a corporate club. One of those, for example, is something like the toast of the day. Perhaps you could not have a toast of the day at a corporate club because you're now going to have shorter events that are going to be brisk and moving straight into the program. It's very important that you always highlight the benefits that every role that you take within a Toastmasters event can benefit you in a professional life. Remember, Toastmasters, they are a corporate club. So they are interested in the benefits that they can receive in their personal, but mostly in their professional lives. And I can tell you that every single Toastmasters role can benefit you in your professional life. So instead of thinking of it as a Toastmaster, why not call that role player your master of ceremonies, where you get to learn the skill of being the director of the program? Just an idea. You have prepared speeches that help you to be able to prepare for your next presentation. Instead of evaluations, you receive feedback on how well you did and how you could make how you can prepare your next speech to be even better. We call them table topics. Perhaps consider thinking of it as impromptu speaking, where we have elevator pitches so that we're able to introduce ourselves on our feet, and that is a skill that we get to learn right here in Toastmasters. Toastmasters, I've just shared with you just a few tips on how you could perhaps raise and elevate the energy of the corporate club so that they're able to receive benefits from the Toastmasters program. We discussed a lot today, Toastmasters. I again implore you to please go back and look at the video, watch the video, deconstruct it with your teams, see what will work and what will not, and most importantly, implement. They say if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, and that will not happen to you on our watch. Reminder, as our district director said, we do have the district initiative assistants to assist you to be able to talk up Toastmasters, whether you're a community, a corporate, or a university club. Let the world know about Toastmasters in your space so that we can talk up Toastmasters. Toastmasters, I spoke about a competition, and we're going to end with that because we're all here about empowering for maximum impact. Lance Miller has graciously agreed to share with us a CD, which is the name of tonight's program, How to Promote and Market Your Club. I have 10 copies of that downloadable CD in my possession, but I want to give them away to you, Toastmasters, so that you can go and promote and market your club in your community. So this is how it's going to work. We're going to give you 3 weeks to put together some promotional material to market your next event for the world to know. I'm going to repeat that just in case you missed it. Promote and market your club in a very creative and innovative way, taking some of the ideas that Lance shared, of course, and let the world know about your club. We will launch the competition tomorrow on our social media pages. You can create a poster, a video, anything to promote your next club event or club contest. And then at our next masterclass on the 17th of April, we're going to collate all the votes or all the entries that have come through. And from the 10 CDs that I have, we're going to award 2 community clubs, 2 corporate clubs, and 2 university clubs. I don't want any of the clubs to get left behind. And so corporate clubs, university clubs, you're also part of the running. And then the other four remaining CDs, we will give them away live here at our next masterclass on Saturday, the 17th of April. So please do look out for the competition. All the rules will be mentioned, and the competition will close on the 10th of April. I'm excited and I'm looking forward to receiving your entries. Mr. Zoom Master, I saw a lot of movement in the chat box. I don't know if there's anything that's pertinent that you want us to speak about before we close today's session. I'm going to hand over to you.
Thank you very much, Madam Public Relations Officer. Now, just a whole lot of excitement about this competition. And it seems like you have stirred the hornet's nest. Just a question from Jan Sonder Club, this is from Jan Sonder. Oh no, he's just commenting. I see Noma Zulu Mateto says, nice one. Looking forward, this is exciting, looking forward to it, Maud. And Gail, who says the following, thank you for sharing these nuggets of wisdom with us, Lance. I love the practical suggestions you shared with us to help and grow our membership and build successful clubs. We appreciate the valuable contribution. And Jan Sonde says the following, our club in Chile does not have a district yet. So I appreciate the opportunity to learn from you. Thank you very much. Just a whole lot of excitement, Madam President. So it is, you have quite literally lit everybody's life up right now.
Thank you so much to you, Fani. And I'm looking forward to receiving all the entries. A reminder, 2 community clubs, 2 corporate clubs, and 2 university clubs will definitely win one of Lance Miller's CDs entitled How to Promote and Market Your Club. The rest of the 4, we will do a lucky draw live here on the Saturday, the 17th of April. Please do look out on our social media platforms. We will definitely communicate that as well as all the criteria. Toastmasters, it's been a bumper masterclass. Thank you so much for being part of this. Thank you so much yet again to Lance Miller for sharing his nuggets and his experience on how he grew his club and how we right here in Southern Africa and the rest of the world can grow our clubs. If there's one thing that I've taken away from this masterclass, it's this, Toastmasters. As a club, as a member, you got to decide that you want to build the club. You've got to decide that you want to be a Toastmaster. And when you do, you've got to chase your investment. Otherwise, you're not going to receive value from this Toastmasters program that has changed lives. I've benefited greatly from this masterclass and from Toastmasters. I hope that you have. Please do look out for the YouTube or the link to the YouTube, to the recording on our YouTube channels. And a reminder that the conversation continues on our dedicated WhatsApp group. I'm going to drop the details in the chat box shortly so that we can continue this conversation and promote and market our clubs. And a reminder yet again about that initiative supportive. If your club is needing assistance to promote and market your club, please do reach out to us. I'll drop my details in the chat box if you're needing more information. Until we meet again on the 17th of April, Toastmasters, it's been an absolute honor hosting you this evening. Thank you so much for your time. Please take care, be safe, and I'll see you again on the 17th of March. Good night.
Public relations, a strategic communication process that builds mutually beneficial relationships between clubs, their members, and the public. The PR for Success is designed to help you do that with impact and towards excellence. One masterclass a month, each focused on a different aspect of public relations and geared towards immediate implementation of skills, with a WhatsApp group that provides a supportive space. Some of the things that you will learn are the power of the Toastmasters brand and effective use of the PR toolkit. What about designing ads that wow and creating and implementing a social media plan with effective use of the media? The PR for Success program, designed for VPPRs but open to all members and designed to help you take your PR skills to the next level. Are you ready?